So growing up, I've had a number of nicknames, especially with having a name like Francisco. But one other nickname that I had was Coconut. We heard that a lot growing up because we sound a specific way, apparently.
You sound very English, apparently.
Yes, yes. But the interesting thing is, we actually come from quite humble beginnings. And where we're standing today
To be specific.
is our childhood home from our mother's side, which is in Mfulo in Soweto. And that is why we're here today, because we have got a very special car with us. This driveway has seen a number of vehicles. It's seen taxis, it's seen BMWs, Toyotas,
Old Audis.
Audis.
That died.
Yeah. But one thing's for sure. There's one car that I'm pretty sure we never believed would ever be in this driveway. It's this.
Yeah.
The Bentley Continental GT Speed.
Where are the keys again? Thank you. I'll see you on the side. Bye-bye.
But I mean, no,
Thank you.
you can't pull rank like that.
I can actually send you the spot. I was standing right here, and a certain car came past, and it stood right there after this hump and did donuts. And that's where my love affair for cars started.
And I mean, here we are in a Bentley Continental GT Speed.
Yeah.
You know, 20 years ago, that's where this iteration of Continental came about. And it's very interesting to see how the car has evolved over time. But at the same time, it's unmistakably a Bentley,
definitely.
You know, and what I
From
love
its
as well-
design, from its face, from the way that it feels, the way that it looks, its silhouette hasn't changed.
Yeah.
There's certain cars that have just not changed, and this is one of them.
Yes,
you know,
very
there's
much
a
so.
massive pothole, which we're not going to dent, in a 6.3 million rand vehicle.
Yeah, 6.5 with the spec. When you outlay this kind of cash, you kind of need the car to do a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And this car does do that. 485 kilowatts, 900 Newton meters. You still can do 0 to 100 in 3.6 seconds. You still...
Do you need to?
No, you don't need to. No one really needs to do 0 to 100 in 3.6 seconds. It's just, you want to, but you're not going to be able to.
Yes.
But ultimately, this is an all-encompassing car.
Yes.
Because it still has got this W12 burble.
Yeah.
So it's still quite exciting.
It's very six-cylindery.
Yes.
Because there's obviously two 6 cylinders mated to a common crank.
W12.
W12.
They're not going to make a W12 after this. So it's a bit of an end of an era for this car at the same time. Coming to Soweto and experiencing this car, why it makes a lot of sense for me is because for a lot of children who grew up here, the whole thing is you become very successful and then you come home
100%.
and you kind of, show everybody that you've succeeded.
You've made it in life. So I was these little kids that are waving to us right now and giving us a thumbs up. I was one of those kids.
Yeah. And who knows in the next 20 odd years
Exactly.
what those kids are going to be doing. They could be journalists as well.
Exactly.
Driving around in these kind of cars.
Yeah.
Nostalgia aside, this car is mad.
Do you know, every single time I drive a Bentley, you just realize that this is the plush side of life.
Look at these guys there. We're literally heroes here. We're literally heroes in this environment right now. And it's very inspirational, because a kid could be walking past and seeing this car and say to themselves that one day, I'm also going to do the same. And isn't that really what being a petrol head is all about?
100%.
It's about bringing people together, and cars like this do that.
Ooh, do you know what I love? Is not only the noise, the gear
Beautiful,
shift.
eh?
The gear shift.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But you know what? You can easily get yourself into trouble with this thing at the same time.
And we say that as we pass in the metro cops.
100%. 100%. And Soweto in itself has changed quite a bit in the last 20 years. I mean, it's a completely different place. And what I love about it is that if you go back 20 years, a lot of South Africans would say, don't go to Soweto. It's very dangerous and all that. And I mean, truth be told, that is true.
Maybe it's because we come from here. I feel zero danger.
Of course, but now because of the way the country's changed as well, and that is why you will see actually a lot of fancy vehicles like this that come here. You will see Ferraris, you'll see Lamborghinis, you'll see Bentleys like this.
As you can hear, there are people following us.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Unfortunately, people don't know that these are not our cars.
They're not our cars.
I got to drive a Bentley.
You got to drive a Bentley, a bespoke Bentley. I mean, look at this interior. What I love as well is that going to Crewe, you get to experience.
Did you know?
I've been to Crewe and I've seen how these cars are made, and I've actually seen the original Continental GT, and there's a little lady who sits there and still pokes the holes for you to stitch up the steering wheel. And I've actually got a photo with the original Continental GT at the factory. I've got a photo with that vehicle, and here we are today in the newest model.
Talk about full circle.
Talk about full circle indeed. Welcome back to Ignition GT. It's hard not to be smitten with a car like the Bentley Continental GT. After all, any vehicle priced at over 6 million rand should be rather special. But how impressed were Lerato and Francois after spending some time behind the wheel? Francois, what did you think?
For me, aesthetically, it's the first Continental that works in visual terms, because I always found the proportions of the car a little bit weird, sort of not very athletic looking, but almost like a little bit high and frumpy in a way.
Bulky.
The particular one that we had obviously has the black styling package, which just makes it look a little bit more understated and you know, depending on the color, also a little bit menacing, you know, which is cool. And then there's the flip side with the engine. The one thing, obviously, that sets a V12 apart is the soundtrack. But this car is so quiet. I think, you know, arguably the V8 sounds even better. It's probably a little bit more visceral. So I kind of feel like, you know, if you really want to have the W12, Bentley South Africa still has a few in stock, apparently. But honestly, if it were my money, just get the V8, you know, and I would be perfectly happy with it.
I felt the exact same way about the Bentayga. To me, a Bentley and a V8, that burble suits the nature of the car, because there is a bit of a gangster element about a Bentley. And when you're burbling around in a V8, it suits the character more than the kind of quiet nature of that W12. So I couldn't agree more. And I think it's just more of a mindset thing, like W12. Lerato, what was your take on the car, sir?
I have to agree with you. The V8 does sound spectacular. In fact, I was privy to this new model V8, just been launched. Bentley SA has got one in their fleet at the moment. I didn't drive it, but I heard it, and it sounds incredible. But for me, it's just the history behind the W12 itself. You know, yeah, it's crazy, man. 6.5 hours to assemble one engine. You know, and it's still painstakingly done, mostly by hand, by 30 engineers, still a crew in England. So for me, it's really an art form that is probably, it's going to be gone, right? And Bentley has to retrain all those 30 sort of W12 experts to do something else. So for me, from the nostalgia really comes from that aspect. But yeah, like you say, if it jump into a V8 today, I'll be happy. I'll be happy. But yeah, it's the end of the road for the W12. So I'm one of those people that's just gushing and thinking, man, it's done. We're not going to see something like this ever in our lifetime.
True.
So have you ordered one then?
Of course. 3.
A casual 18 minutes, you know? First thing I noticed, my wife is always like a bit of a test for me when I'm in a car. And she said, why do people buy Ferraris and Lambos? Because those cars are so uncomfortable. And I thought about it, I was like, you know, you're actually so right, because if you do drive a Continental and you're at that echelon, you probably can use that car on a day-to-day basis. Whereas if you have a Ferrari or Lamborghini, it becomes a bit of a weekend toy. But now with that outlay, do you really want that car to just sit in a garage? And for me, the usability of this car and the day-to-day nature makes it actually a bit justifiable, if it is justifiable to spend 6 million rand in a car.
Look, I think that's always been kind of the key to the success of the Continental, right from the first one that was launched in 1955, I think. And, you know, further to your point of the car being easy to live with, I find it also comes down to just the controls and everything inside the car, the way they've designed it and how they've incorporated all the technology and the features in such a way that you can basically just get into it and enjoy it. It's not an intimidating car. And that is kind of probably for me the biggest testament to how the people at Crewe do things differently
Yes.
to just about anyone else
Yeah.
in the business.
Yeah.
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 Well, very true. Overall, what a stunning vehicle.
No, it's incredible, and I get why it's still considered the quintessential Grand Tourer. I mean, the speed version, I mean, it's a cruiser, and then you just slot it into sport, and then it just does incredible things.
Ferocious.
I mean, the car we had even had an Akrapovic exhaust,
Are you serious?
believe it or not,
Oh, man.
and it just sounded incredible. you know?
Okay, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, and it's nice. It's like a cheeky little sort of, element about Bentley that, hey, man, we can do cool. We can be a little bit out there. I wouldn't say it's a perfect car, but it's probably Bentley's best car by far, I think.